Hello and welcome back to the Real Music Talks. Today's guest is Sam Rabin, a singer-songwriter from Liverpool. How you doing, Sam?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad at all. So for someone that's never listened to you before, how would you
Yeah.
describe yourself as an artist?
Um, the tagline I'll go for is that it's either Lana Del Rey angsty at halftime at a non-league fixture, or it's the Clash trying to write a Valentine's card together. It's something in between those two.
It's a great kind of descriptor. I can tell you're
Thank you.
quite like sort of poetic. Does that kind of like feed into the lyrics?
Um, it tries to. I try not to be too pretentious with the lyrics. I'd prefer to be grounded with them. But it's influenced by poetry as much as it is by music and art.
How did you first get into music? Like, take me back to like the start of your musical history.
It's a big question. So in terms of, I suppose, pop music, rock music, and whatever else, it's mostly through my mum's side. My dad's not into music in the slightest. And my mum, like from an early age, was like playing me Britney, playing me Kylie, and so even now, like as much as I'm here with the guitar playing like punky tunes, like a pop chorus is important to me because kind of that's how I grew up. And I was into songs from musicals, classical music. I heard a lot of music growing up in synagogue as well. It's almost kind of what would you call it? Clerical music, I suppose. And then at a certain age, I came across, I suppose, classic rock, and from that, I kind of went into punk, and then from there, kind of diverged into all the other, beautiful sounds in this world. And over the course of time, started writing songs. I started learning the guitar in primary school. We got a letter home. Let me know if I'm rambling at any point. We got a letter home from primary school offering music lessons. I wanted to take up the saxophone, but my mum said that my mum doesn't like the saxophone that much anyway. But she wanted something that I could play around the bonfire. Not that we have bonfires particularly regularly, but so I started guitar, and I'm glad for that decision. And I started writing songs. At some point, thought the guitar wasn't cool, so I mean, it's not. But at some point, I tried rapping as well, and then kind of came back to guitar later, but on my own terms. So I drifted from it and came back to it. And I suppose I started playing probably as a solo artist when I was about 17. Before that, I'd just been waiting around either for a band or for a beats producer. But then at some point, 17, I just got fed up and thought, you know what, I might as well just start this now. And I've been doing it since.
What about your influences? So, like, obviously, you've mentioned you've done like a bit of rap, like hip hop,
Yeah,
and obviously like rock music as well. So,
yeah.
what sort of stuff do you listen to? Is it a bit of everything?
I'd say my biggest songwriting influences are Lana Del Rey, the Pogues, the Clash, I suppose Leonard Cohen. But then when it comes to more broadly, I think the biggest sounds for me when I was like 14, 15, 16, 17 are mostly like punk, including like folk punk, ska punk on the one hand, and on the other hand, like UK rap and grime. And I could sit here and boringly analyze the way they both play into my music, but I never consciously write a song thinking this is the genre that I'm undertaking. But they do come into it, and along the way around 17, I got into the Smiths, and so there's that indie aspect to it as well. But it's always influenced from, I guess, those core influences that I've mentioned.
So, you mentioned that like you started playing guitar as the first instrument.
Mm-hmm.
How did that kind of go? Did you take like formal grades and stuff like that, or is it very
Mm.
much like you just learnt your favorite songs?
Well, actually, to be fair, I think the first instrument I played. We had a piano in the house. My mum plays piano, um, and I couldn't play the piano. And I remember we had a Beatles music book, and I also didn't know a lot of the Beatles songs. So I literally just opened up this book and just hit keys on the piano while singing along to Beatles songs that I didn't even know. So that's probably that might have been the start of songwriting. But no, it was just it wasn't graded. It was just kind of learning for the sake of learning. And I was actually useless. I was completely useless. I'm dyspraxic, so fingerwork doesn't come naturally to me in the slightest. And I'd say like I probably actually only got good at guitar when I stopped taking lessons. It was mostly, classical, like on the left leg or whatever it is, and to engage in your fingers. And I wanted to play like the Clash, so that wasn't particularly useful. And then so I did that maybe for. Well, I think I started when I was about 8 or 9, and I think I quit when I was about 13 or 14. But, it was a good base, and I'm very grateful for it. But I think a lot of the guitar style I play now, to some extent, taught myself. Just from ultimateguitar.com, that kind of thing, looking up the chords. I mean, I remember, times when I'd see a B, and I was so clueless that I just thought, well, B is hard, I'll play a C instead, it's the next one in the alphabet. So it must have sounded absolutely awful.
And then in terms of like your personal life, like where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? Let's talk me through that.
I was born in northern Israel.
Oh wow.
And we made our way over when I was 7.5. My mum's family were all based on the UK, and that was a big part of the reason we came over here. Well, not the only reason. And we settled in a place called South Mims, which is just on the main junction between the M25 and the A1M, like right on the outskirts of London. It's Hertfordshire, though historically Middlesex, and I hated it, though it gave me a fondness and familiarity with motorways. And I used to explore London a lot. I spent pretty much all my social time and, fun time in London, and tried to avoid South Mims as much as I could. I went off to uni in Manchester when I was 18. And then after uni went down to Brighton for about a year and a half, and here I am as of 2 months in Liverpool. So to say I'm from Liverpool would be definitely an exaggeration, but I am currently in Liverpool.
What's kind of like the reasoning for moving around the UK? Like, I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm curious too. Something I've been thinking about. What am I running from? I like I said, I didn't like where I grew up in South Mims. I was envious of the fact that most of my mates, a lot of people I knew lived further into London, and with London on my doorstep, kind of it felt like this really, this sick place. So like, what was I doing out here by the M25? And I felt like we stayed there for too long as well. I always wanted to move. And so the minute I left home, I had in mind that I didn't want to stay put anywhere for too long. That as much as the fact that just, I suppose things are precarious, things are unaffordable. But no, I like a change of scenery. I love cities. I love places and exploring them. So I like to get the chance to just, whilst I can, see all kinds of different. A lot of people take you out and go exploring Australasia. but the south coast up to the northwest is good enough for me for the time being.
No, I agree. There's a lot in the UK that you can see, and it's quite funny. Like a lot of
Mm,
people that just live in London only know London. They don't really know
mm,
anything else in the UK.
mm. I'd happily just live in London if it was affordable.
Yeah,
London's, London's big enough that like from Barnet to Croydon, it's like it might as well be its own country.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Whereabouts are you from?
So I was actually born in
I don't know
Swindon.
if I'm breaking the conventional interview form here.
No, it's fine actually. I don't mind it when people ask me as well.
Cool.
But no, I grew up in Swindon and then moved to Bristol for uni. Kind of stayed in Bristol, and I'm thinking
Mhm.
about moving again now actually. So
Whereabouts?
not sure yet. We're looking at different
Nice,
places, so we're gonna
nice.
see. Um, but yeah, so back over to you. So let's talk through your songwriting process and where you draw inspiration
Right,
from.
right. So obviously it varies. Each song has its own story. I think the most common process, I tend to have a few lyrics, I suppose a spark of some kind. It all I think 95% of the time, maybe 90%, maybe 85% of the time, starts with the lyrics, and then I pick up the guitar. And I'm far more of a lyricist than a music writer, than a composer. That's the term. Um, so yeah, it starts with the lyrics. I pick up the guitar. I get angry at the guitar and the fact that these beautiful lyrics just won't fit to music. And eventually, I guess they do. And for me, the most exciting part of music is, I love gigging, but I think the most exciting part for me is writing a new song. Um, yeah, and it takes a while more often than not. I have a first verse or just a first three lines sitting around for months sometimes. I mean, one of my okay, so if we take as an example, right, what I'm planning for my next release, I've got three songs. One of them very much was, and these do come occasionally, rarely, but they're magical when they come. Is a song where it does just all seem to come like that, like the music and the lyrics just come together in a burst of inspiration, and everything's just sorted from the get go. And then you just sit around frustrated that you can't play them to anyone and you can't record them yet. Um, and another one took a bit of a struggle, but again, it was quite similar. And then another one I started writing, I think 2016 or 2017. And that was actually one I had the music for, and I had a chorus too, and I had verses, but I just wasn't happy with them. Sort of forgot about it until sometime last year and got back to work on it and decided actually this is good now. This is where it's at now. So some come in 2 evenings, some come in 5 years. Um, but yeah, generally the lyrics are a big focus for me. Though, like I said, I grew up with pop music. Punk inspired and influenced me more consciously, maybe. So I want music people can bounce around to, music that people can listen to and they feel something. Um, but also I want something that sticks in people's heads. I want choruses, I want dancing, that kind of thing. Tears.
Talk to me about your experience with gigging to date then, because I can see that would really like come into play when you're playing
Yeah,
the songs live.
yeah. I love gigging. So my first gig, I was 17. I'm grateful. I lived where I was is near a city called St Albans, um, which, like many things, I've resented in the past. For all kinds of irrelevant reasons, but I'm incredibly grateful for the fact that there's a music venue there that I think is unfortunately rare in the UK, which, you're an artist, a young artist, and you just say, look, I want to play a gig. Here's my music. And they, as cliche as it sounds, they do care about music. And I was given a gig within about 2-3 months. You know, I was a 17-year-old singer-songwriter who'd never played a gig before. Um, and, you know, trying to play in other cities, I've realised that, especially for an acoustic artist, they just assume you belong on an open mic or you belong on a folk lineup or something like that. And so there's definitely a part of me that makes an effort to, I guess, prove people wrong. To show I don't belong at an open mic, I don't belong at a folk night. So my gigs are always rowdy. They're raucous. Like I said, there's that punk influence. And usually a string gets broken or something gets broken or there's some technical issues. And I'd shout at the crowd, though I usually tend to regret it. I just get caught up in emotions. And, you know, you've listened to my music. I belt songs. And even more so my live shows. By the time it gets to playing them live, I'm not too interested in singing them perfectly chorally. As much as, you know, I have a sense of aesthetics, a sense of the beautiful. I love listening to an immaculate choir, but that's not me. And from my live shows, I want a kind of spontaneous energy. So I've always made sure to give it my all, as it were. And I have a habit of letting my emotions get to me. I've got more pissed off than I should have done playing gigs as well. It can be frustrating, and no disrespect. My mates have supported me throughout, and they pay money to come see me, which is incredible. And when people don't dance, I can only look inward and blame it on myself. But I guess I can get frustrated. I find it difficult when I'm on stage running around, sweating, and people standing still. But again, it's no fault of theirs. But yeah, you're right. You asked about my history rather than just my gigging style. So a lot of it's been based at the Horn in St Albans, which I suppose is something of a local venue, though I'm careful not to get myself in the St Albans scene, because it is very much a scene. And I've had very little luck playing in London. I've played maybe 3-4 gigs in London, and most of them were through mates, really. That is something that should change. I'm planning to change that when we come out of lockdown. Again, I've only played 2 gigs in Manchester, a lot of open mics, no gigs in Brighton, a lot of open mics. And yeah, I find it not, like I said, at risk of sounding bitter. Maybe it is the fault of my music and I should look inward more. But I do think acoustic artists don't necessarily get put on the right lineups a lot of the time because they're acoustic artists. But that'll change. And I'm also more aware now of the process of hiring a venue to play your own gig.
I guess with London, like there's just so much there, like so much music, so many artists. You know, there's like more like jazz nights and different like genre nights, and that's why I guess it's easier to be like, say, put into an acoustic night where it's just all acoustic singer-songwriters.
Yeah.
If you go into like a smaller town or something, then you're going to have like a mixture of genres because they don't put on anywhere near as many gigs, you know, and there's like a bigger kind of catchment area, whereas it's just kind of like London,
and it does unfortunately help to have a foot in the door.
Yeah.
Especially in London, but also in other cities where there's a music uni. Sometimes the music uni will be a bit dominating, or you know, just privilege does come into it. So you know, I'm wary that I've already sounded too resentful, and I don't want to. You know, I'm a positive person. I'm a positive artist. It's easy to get frustrated, but that's not what music's about. I don't mean.
Let's dig into it a little bit though. So say like how much do you think it is?
Stir in the pot.
How much do you think it is like pure luck, and how much do you think it is like just hard work? So say if someone said to you, you can make it as a musician if you put in all the work, basically, like you do all the social media as much as possible, you try and bash it with as many gigs as possible, and then someone else says you just got to be in the right place at the right time. What are your thoughts on those two like extreme sides?
It's hard to know. I'm not sure to what extent it's my place to say. I'm not good at social media, and sometimes I don't even want to be good, because marketing and promotion and business doesn't interest me. You know, I love music and art and poetry and writing and performing. And to me, the whole social media thing is just it's mind-numbing and it's soul-crushing. And you know, like, yeah, I post a picture of myself on Insta and I get 75 likes, and then I post a picture saying I'm playing a gig and I get 5 likes, whatever. But honestly, I don't think it's my place to say. Really, it happens differently for different people. I would say that sadly, I think there's a dominating class, which definitely filters into the music scene as well as every other scene, really. You know, the people who have come from certain backgrounds already have access, even if it just comes down to the fact that maybe they've learned more about marketing and networking, so they know how to email people. Or maybe they've just got more money to spend on their own equipment, or this or that, you know, whatever it is, there's a class aspect to it, I believe. But I think it varies from artist to artist. I do think people can put in all the graft over the course of their lives and not make it in music, and some people put in no graft. I think also, besides graft, you've got to ask yourself about character and creativity and originality. And that's, I think, what upsets me more than the aspect of hard work. It upsets me less that people put in hard work and don't make it. It upsets me more that people make it who have little to them, in my opinion. But again, I've got to be humble and positive to the extent that I can be. And like I said, it's not my place to say. It works differently between artist to artist. But yeah, there are artists, I think, who make it on the merit of their class as opposed to the merit of their songwriting or performance skills. But for that matter, there are artists who make it despite all disadvantages, and to them, I can only be commendable.
I think like making it as a musician is a lot harder than a lot of people realize, and like it costs money to travel to gigs. It costs money to buy equipment. Like all of these things cost money, but then you don't get paid, right?
Yeah.
So it makes it very difficult. And I want to touch on this as well. Like, what do you think of like how the music industry's gone with like streaming and stuff like that? And like, what do you think is going to be like the future of that? Like, how can we go back to musicians being paid well for their records and stuff?
It's a good question. Again, one that I feel slightly unable to respond to too confidently. It is a shame. It is a shame. You know, I myself use Spotify to stream, and I don't buy my favorite artist's music. I make an effort to buy merch. I make an effort to buy gig tickets. But yeah. Not only, I think, not only the big Spotify and Amazon Music and Apple Music corporations who make this money off streaming, but even live music venues. As much as we need to be grateful for them, will be racking up a profit. Maybe when they're already racking up a profit off booze. I don't know. Here's what I'm saying. It's not too much my place there. I don't understand the economic intricacies of all these different businesses. I also find it hard to believe, you know, I see my favourite bands say that they're broke. And I think, well, that's fucking infuriating. Like, you're literally giving me reason to live some nights. Like, I fall asleep to your music to ground me and make me believe that life is worth living and that anxiety isn't worth the effort. And yet you're struggling to pay your bills. That's not fair. And then the minute it kind of comes round to me, I think, well, I don't deserve 40 quid for this gig. Well, what have I done? I've practiced a few times this week and then been on stage for half an hour. I find it really hard to charge my mates for gigs. When it comes to Spotify, I'm yet to make. I've got like about 21 quid from my Spotify streams, which I can't yet withdraw because I have to wait for it to be, I think, 25 or 30 quid to withdraw. And even still, I find it hard with myself to say, oh yeah, I deserve to be paid for this. But at the end of the day, it's like you say, it's work, it's labour. It's something I do for a sake other than labour. But by that same token, I believe I don't do it purely self-indulgently. I do it because I do it for other people. Like I said about my favourite artists, to genuinely help me in my day-to-day life, and that's what I want to do for other people. Not to make out it's completely selfless. Obviously, there's ego to it. I wouldn't be doing it if there wasn't any aspect of that. But as I said, I don't understand the economic intricacies of streaming or of live music promotion. So it's hard for me to point fingers and say where the blame is besides the, international system of capitalism. But and also we shouldn't get, again, stop me if I'm rambling.
No, it's fine.
We shouldn't get too bogged down in focusing just on the fact that artists are underpaid without seeing the wider picture that pretty much all of us are underpaid. That when I go out to my bar job, I'm also underpaid just because I have a regular wage as opposed to my artist job where I rely on gigs and streaming. And I think that's important for us to remember, that we as artists aren't selfless heroes who being denied adequate salaries compared to everyone else. Like, nobody is earning justly.
For sure. I mean, everyone has to eat, right? Everyone needs the basic needs. You know what I mean? So completely agree with that. So swinging it back around a little bit, so we don't go too deep into all that stuff.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. No, it's all good. How have you kind of dealt with all the restrictions and what's happened with the lockdowns?
It's been weird not gigging. I've got a gig coming up on August 4th at the Horn again, and I'm planning to play gigs after that. Looking into booking things, and I played a rehearsal set the other day for the first time in ages, and honestly, I was knackered, and I couldn't remember any of my own lyrics or chords, which is weird because before that, I was at a stage where for a gig I didn't even need to rehearse before. I knew pretty much all my songs off by heart without thinking about it. That's strange. It's strange that I wrote a song the other week and finished it, and then thought, great, I've finished it. What do I do with it now? I've not got an open mic to play it at. I've not got a gig to play it at. I'll just sit around waiting for other people to hear this song. I've been trying to focus on recording my own tunes. The last 4 tunes I released, I recorded myself. It's something all my mates know I hate doing, and I'm just quite frankly not good at doing. But it's a skill that I'm glad to have the time to try and harness, as much as it's annoying. But I'm still trying. I've got, thankfully, this week 3 guitar takes down. Honestly, I don't know how these like lo-fi bedroom artists do it. Like, I listen to these lo-fi bedroom artists and it sounds sick. There's like some great reverb on their tunes, and a lot of times it sounds professional. They're just recording it on a phone or a laptop or whatever. And I used to find that inspirational, and I just find it bewildering. Because you know I've got a setup with a mic that I spent money on, and it's like I just can't get it sounding right. So I don't know if maybe these bedroom artists are just better at putting perfectionism behind them, or maybe whether they adjust their sound to suit that lo-fi. Don't know, but that's how I've been really adjusting during lockdown, I suppose. Recording my own tunes, still writing, especially when I was working during the, I guess you could call them the non-lockdowns, the bits in between the multiple lockdowns, where I was working on the bar and had what to write about. But then again, I wrote a song the other day and I wasn't working. Yeah, I've been writing as well, but I have felt going out it's to take that question more abstractly, I suppose. It's made me aware of the tension and contradictions that a writer finds themselves in, and that, well, I speak for myself, but I think this is probably the case for many, that writers rely on the outside world for their inspiration. Get inspiration when I'm at the pub, or when I'm at the park with mates, or when I'm at work, or wherever I am. I get inspiration when I'm out the house, but I need to be in the house to write. And I've become more aware of that tension, in the sense that I've been in that. I've had loads of time to write. So hence why I can now regurgitate a song from 2017 and finally perfect it, because now I have the time to develop and craft those songs that at the time, you know, after the initial inspiration, I just didn't really have the time or the motivation to spend time indoors working on it. And for the same matter, I've maybe lost some of the inspiration from being in the outside world, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're nearly out of time now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But is there anything else that you'd like to leave the audience with?
Not in particular. Listen to my music. I hope some people find some solace in it, or some kind of energy. Generally in my EPs, the second or third song is the sad solace one, where you can cry on public transport to it. And generally the first two are the ones with energy, where you can, like, I don't know, square up to the mirror. And I hope you like them. I hope they speak to you. And you know, I hope we can go out to gigs soon as well, and just be back with people, because it's people that matter. It's being with people that inspires us. And I'm in no place to say anything that vital.
No, I think that was great. Thanks so much for your time, Sam. Really
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Dan. Pleasure to meet you.
Nice one. Take care, guys. See you next time.
And you.